It almost seems like a joke that the richest economy in the world, the US, doesn't have a single high-speed rail. High-speed trains have proved their worth worldwide over the past 50 years. Europe, Japan, and China are leading the game in this domain. But it seems like this revolution bypassed America completely. Despite being one of the world's first countries to get high-speed trains, it failed to spread out. As of 2022, China had by far the longest high-speed railway network in the world, with almost 25,000 miles of high-speed rail lines. It's followed by Spain and Japan with more than 1,800 miles of high-speed rail each. So, why is America lagging in this area? Is it the American love of cars, or is it deep-rooted in economic or political troubles? Well, the answer is both. The first reason? Building a railway isn't cheap. To build a railway line, you have to secure land in a straight path, as you can't run trains at high speeds along a curved path. The US has very strong property rights, which make land acquisitions a legal and financial challenge. Back when it was so cheap to secure land, the US had no problem building train tracks across the country. Compared to China, where the state controls much of the land, securing land's relatively easy. Secondly, the love of cars is deeply ingrained in the average American. Films like Ford vs. Ferrari and Fast and the Furious are a reflection of the public interest. Moreover, the US invests billions in the interstate highway system for regular maintenance and expansion, further cementing the importance of car travel. Then we have some legislation that shaped the course of history. Trains lost their luster after World War II when federal legislation favored private cars and commercial jets. In the 1950s, then-President Eisenhower signed a Federal Aid Highway Act that allocated $25 billion for the expressways. In 1958, airplanes dominated the scene as the Federal Aviation Administration was created to promote fast and safe air travel. Another factor is the ease of acquiring cars in comparison to other nations. Unlike the US, other countries tax heavy amounts on car purchasing to keep demand in check. For example, in Singapore, car buyers must pay an additional 150% on top of the price of the car in excise and registration duties. This discourages people from buying cars and resorting to cheaper modes of travel like high-speed railways. In a society where there are fewer cars, the demand for public transport will organically be higher. In America, 91% of households own at least one car, with Idaho and Wyoming having the highest rate at 96%. But it seems like the car fever is slowly and gradually dying down. But perhaps the most powerful factor is the expansion of cities. During the pre-automobile era, residential and commercial structures were close to each other, so people could reach places by walking. But with a growing need to accommodate the increasing population, suburbs are built at greater and greater distances from the train station. So even if you do arrive in a city by train, you still got to use a car to get around. Furthermore, most cities don't have a convenient metro system to carry people to their destinations. That's why most people opt for traveling by car all the way through. The already few existing railways are underutilized, and that's because of the way that the tracks are laid out. If you look at the network of Chinese railways, you'll see a giant web. The railway net is spread on all corners so that there's no area inaccessible by rail. However, if you look at the American train network, there are a lot of linear lines. Much of the American land isn't covered by the train network. The limited destination options provided by the American Railway discourage people from using it frequently. That's another reason why the government's reluctant to invest in railways, especially when the demand's so low. However, this wasn't always the case in the past. In the late 1960s, two shiny projects were unveiled by the government: the turbo train and the metro liner. Named after the Latin word for tornado, the turbo train was engineered by the United Aircraft Company, UAC, and used the same turbine technology that lifted planes and helicopters. It traveled at a speed of 170 miles per hour, 270 kilometers per hour, setting a record in North America that remains to this very day. But it did not deliver impressively when it came to regular services. Unable to reach its full speed, the train averaged around 63 miles an hour, 100 kilometers per hour. The second high-speed project was the electric metro liner, made up of a stainless steel tube. The metro liner reached 164 miles per hour, 260 kilometers per hour on a trial run and promised a 2.5-hour trip between New York and Washington, D.C. Sadly, the metro liner proved to be a lemon. Its various technical issues, like the rattling of air compressor coils, wobbly carriages, etc., doomed the project. If you've enjoyed the video so far, hit the subscribe button to show your support. We release 2 videos each week, bringing you the hottest news in the architectural world. Finally, in 2000, a silvery blue electric train named Acela entered the picture. Even though the public was excited to use this new train, Acela didn't live up to the expectations. But much of it wasn't its fault. Much like its predecessors, it had the same problem. There were no dedicated tracks for Acela, and it had to share the tracks with the other freight trains. Throughout history, American governments have tried to reduce the cost of high-speed rails by not constructing exclusive tracks for passenger trains. Acela had to be able to sustain high-force collisions that could not happen on systems dedicated exclusively to passenger trains elsewhere in the world. Critics also claimed that Acela would skip stops to make up for its delay. But not to worry, because there's finally a ray of hope for the American public. A new intercity railway called the Brightline was unveiled recently. It's the only privately owned and operated intercity passenger railroad in the United States. Before we go further, what are the criteria for a high-speed train? The most common international definitions specify speeds above 155 miles an hour, 250 kilometers per hour on newly built lines, and speeds above 124 miles per hour, 200 kilometers an hour on upgraded lines as high speed. Brightline has a top speed of 125 miles per hour, 200 kilometers per hour, while the project is marketing itself as a high-speed railway. It's closer to the definition of a higher-speed rail. It'll connect Miami and Orlando with possible extensions up to Tampa. There's a lot of traffic between these two locations, with an expected 35 million annual travelers. Currently, those who wish to travel from Miami to Orlando have two options: hop on a plane or take the I-95 highway. The I-95 highway is one of the deadliest highways in the world. It routinely claims the lives of hundreds of motorists each year, with a death rate of 15 fatalities per 100 miles. As of 2019, the I-95 had a nation-leading 284 deaths, not to mention it is jam-packed with cars, leading to several bottlenecks in the path. So what better way to cash in on an opportunity like this? Brightline's main Orlando station is part of Orlando International Airport's Terminal C. It offers the most direct connection from an intercity rail line to an airport terminal in the United States. This was made possible because Orlando Airport included the railroad station and track access in its master plan, in concert with a state high-speed rail plan. Brightline was able to take advantage of a state policy setting aside right-of-way alongside some highways for high-speed rail. This means that some of its tracks will be shared by freight trains, while some sections will be exclusive for Brightline. The distance between Miami and Orlando by car takes 3 to 5 hours to cover. However, Brightline is offering this distance to be covered in under 3 hours. The train is equipped with comfortable seats, Wi-Fi, charging ports, and refreshments for a comfortable experience. Ever since Brightline was started, more than 10,000 jobs have been created, and the train itself has a positive $6 billion impact on Florida. But it seems like Brightline isn't stopping anytime soon. A new project called Brightline West will connect Las Vegas and Southern California. It'll have additional stations in Apple Valley, Hesperia, and Rancho Cucamonga. Trains will take passengers from Las Vegas to Rancho Cucamonga in just 2 hours and 10 minutes, twice as fast as the normal drive time. Rancho Cucamonga Station will connect to Southern California's regional Metrolink service, allowing for seamless connectivity to downtown Los Angeles and beyond. With the initiation of the first private intercity rail, it's hoped that many others would follow this example. It's rare to see a private company in the railway world, but as you can see with failed governmental projects like the California High-Speed Railway, this is a green signal for America. For those who are unaware, the California High-Speed Railway was promised to the public 15 years ago and is still pretty much limited to just paper. Multiple disasters like delays in buying land and building the line, inaccurate cost estimates, and a lack of funding have drowned the project. Hence, Brightline seems to be a good model for other future railway projects. If you liked today's video, show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel. What topic would you like us to discuss next? Share with us in the comments. We are committed to releasing 2 weekly videos. Stay tuned for our next upload.